Okay, here is the tea. I just got back from about an 8-day trip to Europe. I traveled solo and I traveled carry-on only. And this was for my 65th birthday, and here's what I learned. Number one, I'm not sure that I would travel solo carry-on only again as a 65-year-old woman. If I were traveling with a partner, someone that could help me, put things up in overhead bins and that sort of thing, it would be different. But because I am an older woman, I think I would think twice before doing carry-on only. So that would be the tip number one. Think twice if you're a solo traveler. Now, there are some people I know who travel very, very light, and maybe this isn't a thing, but I found that for me, it was very, very difficult to travel solo, carry-on only. And there were a couple of reasons why that made it a little bit more difficult, and I'll share that with you in just a second. Number two is that I considerably overpacked. Even though I spent a lot of time editing the clothes that I was going to take, at the last minute, I did the thing I always do, and that is, there's room in my suitcase. Maybe I'll throw in a couple of extra items. What ended up happening was that not only did I not need those items, but now they're adding weight to the luggage that I am now carrying around. I'm pulling it through airports, often on trams, up and down stairs, in and out of vehicles. It was a lot, and I really did not need anywhere near the amount of clothing that I packed and the amount of extras that I packed. We often see travel influencers filling their bags with all kinds of little gadgets and slings for their feet and things for their cell phone so that they can watch movies and all these different things. And granted, I did not take any of that kind of stuff, but I did take a whole bag of wipes and Lysol sprays and like all kinds of vitamins and all sorts of stuff that I did not use on the trip. So there was that. There was also this item. I thought I was going to be uncomfortable on the trip. I thought I was going to need something, for my neck. So I purchased this turtle. I had seen people talk about it online, and I carried it all away. I never used it. I frankly don't even find it to be comfortable. I don't. And it was a major kind of pain to try to fit in and out of my suitcase. There was a point at which the woman at the airside said, "Hey, that's a third item. You have to get that into your duffel or into your suitcase." I knew it was not going to fit in the suitcase. I tried to squeeze it in the duffel bag, but most of the time it just dangled from my luggage, and it was just in the way. So if I were to go again, this would stay home. Now, when it comes to the choice of luggage that I took, I had purchased Luggage about probably almost 20 years ago. It was state of the art. It's a very, very good luggage brand. It is very sturdy. It is very, very good luggage. However, in recent years, that same brand has come out with a whole bunch of new products and things that would have made my trip a lot easier. So the next thing that I would say is that I am definitely going to be purchasing new luggage for my next European trip. And I would probably be thinking twice about checking my luggage. I think that if I'm traveling alone, I will definitely check my luggage. If I'm traveling with a partner that can help me move things in and out of the overhead bin, then I might go ahead and do the carry-on thing, but that remains to be seen. I made the decision to use a duffel and then a 22-inch bag. It was stuffed to the gills with clothing and, personal items and so forth. If I were to do it over again, I would edit my clothing rather than adding more clothing in at the last minute because I had room in my suitcase for it. If you are finding that you need something that you didn't bring, you can always purchase it. But what I found for this particular trip is that less was more. And so at the end of the day, what I needed was a skirt, a pair of pants, a pair of jeans, and a pair of shorts. Though I didn't wear the jeans and I didn't wear the shorts, having them, could be a good thing. I needed one jacket, and then I had a handful, 3 or 4 different lightweight sweaters and tops to wear that mixed and matched. That would have been perfect, but I threw in 2 pairs of jeans. I threw in 2 extra jackets. I threw in an extra pair of shoes. I also took a pair of wedge sandals as opposed to some other type of sandal that might have taken up a lot less room. So when it comes to choosing the clothes that I chose, I would definitely make different choices this time around. When it comes to makeup and beauty products, I purchased the truffle style pieces. I kind of knew in the back of my mind that having my brushes in one box and my makeup in another box and skincare in another box and all that was probably not the smartest thing to do. But I thought, these are so cute. Well, that would be another thing, is that editing your beauty products, your makeup and stuff down so that it fits into one container and that it's just in one container, that you're not brushes here, makeup there, and all of that. That was crazy. And then there's a question of whether or not you should do a duffel versus a backpack. I ended up checking my duffel and my suitcase and purchasing a backpack. The backpack worked great. It may not be as fashionable as I like to generally be, but it was a lot more convenient to use a backpack than it was to use a duffel and try to muscle the duffel through the airport and up in bins and so forth, or try to put the duffel onto the suitcase. There was always difficulty pulling it off and pulling it on. So those would be the things that I would do different next time. But let me share with you a couple things that worked really, really well. The first thing that I will share with you is that I used this little bag, Lululemon little bag, and this was the purse that I carried, and it also, I wore it, when I was traveling. I had my my tickets and my phone and everything in this really close to me, and then I had a couple of additional items in this. And when I was on the plane, I wore it like around my waist. When I was, out and about, because the wardrobe that I had taken was a casual wardrobe, this looked great, like as a crossbody. So if I were to do it over again, I would definitely travel with this type of bag. It worked a charm. Another thing that I did that I was really happy with was that I purchased air tags before we left on the trip, and I had an air tag in each of my luggage pieces. I was able to see where my luggage was. I was able to tell that it was on the plane with me. I was able to see when I was waiting for it, because when I there was a point at which I had made the decision coming home that I would check my luggage, and so I was able to see where it was, and that worked out great. I also had this additional charger that I took. This I was able to plug right into walls and that sort of thing. Some say not to ever plug your phone into any of those outlets at airports and stuff, because some of them have skimming devices. So I charged this, and then I used this to charge my phone. That worked great. I also took this, which is an adapter, and this one happens to be an adapter for Finland. If I were to do it over again, I would get a universal one that does all of the different countries, because I flew to Finland, I stayed in Finland, and then I ended up with a layover for 3 days in London without a charger. And that's when this came in handy, because I was able to plug this into the wall in the hotel room and charge this. But if I were to do it over again, I would just get one of these universal ones. They're not very much money. They're on Amazon. So when it comes to the things that I would do again, number one, I would definitely be purchasing luggage that was specific to a European overseas trip. Number two, I would think twice about duffel bag versus backpack, so that the carry-on item is easy for you to carry, easy to go under the seat, and in having the backpack definitely is your hands free. So I even though I'm a fashionista kind of gal, I would probably be more inclined to use a backpack rather than the duffel bag that I did use. The third thing that I would definitely do is cut back on the clothes and the things that I'm taking, as opposed to adding things back in. And when it comes to makeup and all of that kind of stuff, I would consolidate into one bag rather than having a whole bunch of them all over in your suitcase and your carry-on. The final thing, that mistake that I made that I would do differently, is that when I was getting ready to leave, and I thought, okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna be flying from Finland to London, from London to Tampa, I then got rid of a lot of my toiletries. That proved to be a mistake, because what ended up happening was that I missed the flight from London to Tampa. It took 3 days for me to get a flight out, and now I was without toiletries, and many toiletries, not all, but many. And so it ended up that I either had to do without or try to procure the toiletries. And so if I were to do it over again, I would hold on to those little last bits of toiletries. One thing that I did do well was that I did go on to Sephora. I had some points, and I used my points to purchase a little kit that had a face wash, an eye cream, a night cream, and a light moisturizer, and that was the perfect size. It was a perfect amount for the trip. So I would highly recommend that if you're going to take a trip, that if you have points or you have samples and that sort of stuff, that turned out to work out really, really well. So I would say that I learned a lot about packing, traveling, getting to and fro, and I look forward to taking another trip and kind of perfecting the things that I learned on this trip. So I hope that this will help you to think about your stuff, especially if you don't travel a lot. I hope that this helps, and I will see you in the next video.